Do you mind? Leave.
We tried to talk to members of the militant left-wing movement Antifa, who showed up to drown out a handful of Trump supporters trying to hold what they called a rally against racism and bigotry.
Do you want to know the facts?
I said something at you. I wasn't really looking to interact.
Their faces are not all they hide. Behind the name anti-fascists is a radical, organized agenda that targets anyone who challenges them.
They call themselves Antifa.
Antifa is a far-left political movement.
They are strictly principled anti-fascists.
And they can count on much of the media to deliver their message.
There were different reasons for Antifa and for these neo-Nazis to be there. One, racist fascists. The other group fighting racist fascists. There's a distinction there.
Antifa, for several years now, has had inaccurate, favorable coverage. It's a cartoony way of looking at this, the bad guys versus the good guys.
To journalist Andy Ngo, it's a deception, an effective one.
Chris Cuomo had tweeted out a photo of American troops storming the beaches of Normandy and said this was Antifa. Like, it's of that type of ignorance when if you dive into even the basics of Antifa ideology, they absolutely hate the United States. They want to see the destruction of states. So they have nothing to do with these liberation soldiers of World War II.
Focusing on Antifa has made him an authority and a target.
Why do they hate you so much?
They hated me because I was writing unfavorably about them, because I was writing honestly about what they were doing, the language that they were using, the misinformation, disinformation that was putting out. And that countered the narrative that was set by the local media, which described them as anti-fascists opposing the far right.
No one else covers Antifa more than you. How did that happen?
Back in 2016, I was his news student journalist at Portland State for the student paper. And in November, Portland had days of protests that devolved into riots over and over for 4 days.
What were the protests about?
People in the city could not accept that Donald Trump had won.
We reject the climate-elect. We reject the climate.
There was a certain faction that manifested that hatred through violence and destruction. And so that was the first time I came face to face with what I now know as Antifa.
And what did you see?
They went around different parts of downtown destroying businesses. They were targeting banks and cars.
Destroying them with what?
Crowbars, bricks, very rudimentary weapons. After that carnage, Portland woke up and we could see all the damage, the fires that were started. And instead of being just a one-off incident, it became routine and banal through 2017, 18, and now 2019.
According to Portland's police chief, Antifa did $1 million worth of damage in the first night of the riots, and police arrested dozens of protesters. But it was just the beginning. The liberal city emerged as a major battleground in the wake of Trump's election. Andy Ngo said as he watched, the political violence between Antifa on the left and pro-Trump groups like the Proud Boys on the right descended into street battles. When his videos exposed Antifa for inciting violence, not just acting in self-defense as they claimed, many journalists accused him of preying on the militants and manipulating the images. Left-wing political groups accused him of doxing and endangering Antifa members by revealing their names. Somehow, this openly gay, soft-spoken reporter was branded as far-right. On a sunny Saturday afternoon last summer, Andy was covering demonstrations organized by the Proud Boys and the Him Too movement. Antifa showed up in force to counter-protest. He said he was uneasy because of this post from Portland's Rose City Antifa, which singled him out. So did these 5 Antifa members.
They're following me all over.
Who Andy said appeared to be carrying out a plan. Then everything changed.